Welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on the Olivia Smith. How's it going, Olivia?
Going good. How are you?
I'm great. So I was actually this week. I just took off work and I was just going through all my Facebook friends, and I was like, man, I haven't talked to Olivia in forever. so
I'm
uh, I figured I'd have you on and catch up with you and see what you've been up to. For everybody who doesn't know Olivia, we went to college together at JSU, and where'd you go to high school?
I went to Auburn High.
Oh, you went to Auburn. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you left JSU. You were a cheerleader there, and
Yeah.
you ended up going to Clemson and being a cheerleader there as well. What made
You
you
have
go to
such a good
Clemson?
memory.
Oh, what?
You have such a good memory.
Oh, yeah.
But
so,
yeah.
why'd you go to Clemson?
Well, when I knew you at JSU first, you're just amazing. You just shine this light, and everyone wants to be your friend. So I just had to tell you that. But I love JSU, and the professors were great. I made a lot of friends, including you, and I loved it. But I felt like I had this like burning desire to always cheer at a really big school. It was just a dream of mine, and it was something that God was just like pounding in my mind. I couldn't even think about anything else. I was like, let me try this. So I just started trying out at bigger universities, and I landed at Clemson and made the team. And then 2 years later, I look back and it was like a dream. It doesn't feel real. It was really cool.
That's awesome. So, I mean, did you feel like that was something that really, I guess, changed your perspective on like what you were doing at the time? I mean, you're already in college, you're already cheering, but it was just kind of like another step up. Did it feel any different, or did it feel the same?
Yeah, it definitely felt different. Like it was one of those things like, when you have like a burning desire and it's like, why am I thinking about this constantly? Like I have to do it. Or I mean, I know not everyone, believes in God or is faithful, but I am. And my faith, it was something that I felt like God was really putting on my heart and in my mind. And I was like, I can't calm down until I see this through. So I guess it really calmed me down. Once I made the team, I was like, I can breathe. Like I'm doing what God put me on this earth to do. And it just kind of made me feel like I can conquer anything from that point. Because it was something that was so high up. I was like, how am I going to make this team? It was so scary. I was like, there's no way. I've been told no so many times. And there's universities I didn't make it at, but I just kept going and I finally made it. And yeah,
so,
it felt really good.
okay, yeah. So it just felt like you were like relieved that you had made the team.
Exactly. Yes.
That's good. I mean, I'm sure for like all athletes in all sports, like doing something at the college level. Number one, it's hard in itself, but number two, to actually make it and to I mean, you did it two different places. Like that's impressive in itself.
Thank you. That's so sweet. But yeah, I feel like I can calm down. Like I finally ticked off my number one dream and now I'm like, okay, the rest of my life is going to be good. I can like breathe now.
Do you still do any kind of like dance or anything like that?
No, I'm afraid I would like break my entire body. My senior year of at Clemson, I mean, all of us that we were all seniors, we were like, oh my gosh, our body is breaking. Like every back handspring I did, every tuck, I felt it in every joint of my body. I'm so glad I never have to do a full again. A full is where like you're like flipping like this, but then you're also twisting.
Oh,
So scary.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't really think about like the, I guess, the amount of impact like cheerleading does to the body. Like,
For sure.
football is difficult, of course, and basketball difficult, two major sports, but like gymnastics, period, is such an impact sport. Like you're constantly
Absolutely.
doing damage to your bones, your muscle skeleton, like everything. So it's
Yeah.
it's a top impact sport in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a great sport. I loved it. But I'm glad I don't have to tumble anymore. So I like staying on the ground.
So what did you do in college? What was your major in college?
I majored in math because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed my major like 25 times. I was basically in college just to like have fun and do cheerleading. I really didn't care about the academic side of things. I hope that this doesn't demotivate anybody, but I am very real. I'm an open book. I'm going to tell you exactly how it was. But I remember the only classes I enjoyed were math. And when my math when I finished my last math class at JSU, I had an amazing professor there that showed me, I was good at it. And in high school, I didn't have professors who made me feel good at it. Like I felt like I was bad at math. It really just takes a good professor. But so yeah, at JSU, that's when I was like, no, this is all I want to do. I want to do math. So I went to my advisor and he was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know, but I just want to keep doing math. He's like, do you want to major in math? I'm like, sure, let's do it. So I just majored in math and I love numbers.
So what was your plan? Like, did you have a set plan that you wanted after you finished?
Yeah, so I thought about being an actuary, which, they manage risk for insurance companies and stuff like that. And that was just kind of the goal because they also start out making really good money. But then as I graduated, I was like, no, I want to be around people and I'm a social butterfly. And I'm very much into like the service industry. I've worked in hotels, I've worked in the airline industry, but that's where my calling is because I love to take care of people. So I couldn't have fulfilled that tank as an actuary or anyone using my degree really. So I don't plan to use it unless it's for like research.
Okay. So Olivia just said that she loves to like just be around people and make people happy. This one time, I don't remember what we were doing. I think we were just like hanging out at like Megan's house or something.
Uh-huh.
And you like, I think you had came up behind me and was like starting to give me a massage on my back. And I don't remember what you were doing, but that felt amazing. I was
Was
like,
it like the rolly thing?
yes,
Oh my
yes, that was it. I was like,
That's like
dear
amateur
God.
hour. I've learned a lot more techniques now.
I was like, Olivia, this is what your calling is. Like
Oh
a
my God.
masseuse.
That's so funny that you remember that. Look at me just run around giving people back massages like, wow.
I mean, when we were in college, we all just found an excuse to just hang out with each other. So we were just all just doing nothing, basically.
We were like a big family at JSU because there was like nothing to do in that town except for just like hang out with your friends. And I feel
Yeah,
like we really did that. We all formed like this really special bond that you don't get at other universities.
absolutely. And it was just cool just being able to like, I mean, a good bit of us had like the same major. Like that's how I knew Justin was because me and him actually had business classes together. And
Yeah.
yeah, there were some other people that we had business classes together, but that's how we became friends. And then I know like me and Jordan and Luke, we all ran into each other at like a party, and then that's how we all like. And then plus being in the same dorm, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Just like I don't know, just finding people from like different areas and like seeing what their life was like.
Absolutely, I agree.
Was Clemson, I guess, a easier experience that you've been through JSU, or did it seem like you had to start all over?
Well, it was so there are some things I love about JSU that Clemson did not have, and one of them would be the academics. Like the classrooms at JSU, the professors actually cared about your success, and if you were falling behind, they really made it an initiative to bring you back up. I love the classroom settings at JSU. You weren't just a number. They really
Mm.
cared about how well you did. And I went from kind of being in the top level of my classes there where I was helping other people study and I felt very confident and I felt like I was going to get A's and B's on all my tests. But then when I went to Clemson, where it's so much harder to get in and like the level of, ACT scores that you need to get in there were a lot higher than JSU. So I quickly went from like being top of my class to like bottom 10%. Like I was the one that was struggling. I needed tutors for just about every class. I had study groups that I set up to try and learn from the other students. Like everyone was just naturally brilliant, and I'm not naturally smart. Like I have to work my tail off. Like I was studying 4.5 hours every single day and still failing exams at
Oh
Clemson.
my God!
It was so freaking hard, and I really wasn't even learning that much. Like at JSU, I didn't have to ever study. I would probably study like probably an hour every other day just to be prepared. But the professors were so good at JSU that I was absorbing the material. At Clemson, the professors do not care. They all have their own, what is it called? Like projects. Have you ever heard of this? Where the professors have their own projects and their own study things that they're doing. So when they come to the class, they really don't care. And the students are so naturally smart, they're acing these tests anyways. So
Mm.
I was struggling big time there. And it kind of made me resent it a little bit. But then the athletics and then my friends and everything else out there kind of evened it out.
Yeah, I started noticing, like learning about different types of professors and stuff, like an astrophysicist or something. You're like, what did they do all day? But like
Yeah.
a good bit of them could be like a professor at a college. So that would be like their field of study, or their project would
Yeah.
be doing that kind of stuff. And they're not worried about a 21 year old
Yeah.
passing their class. They want to go do their field of study all day. So I,
Absolutely.
yeah, that
Yeah. So
makes
I wasn't a
sense.
priority there. I was a number. And they also didn't really like me in the math department because I was one of the only females, first off. And I was like one of the only athletes. Most everyone were non athletes, super duper smart. And a lot of them were men. So I just felt like I was kind of an odd person out. And they didn't like that I was allowed to miss on Fridays. Because, like, if I was cheering a football game, I had a university excuse to leave. But they were like, why does she have a university excuse? This is not right because my other students don't. So they automatically didn't really like me. Um, I'm like, why don't you like me as much as my parents do?
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, so JSU is like, I think I learned a lot more from JSU than I did from Clemson.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, that like small school type thing, you just feel like you get more hands-on education. You just feel like everything's more micromanaged, so you just
Yeah,
get a better feel for everything.
yeah, it's kind of like no man left behind. Like the professors really do care about your success and they try to help you. I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. So let's go after you finish college. What do you do after that?
So after that, I got a really terrible sales job. Hated it. I was dating the wrong person. I like really hit rock bottom. I was not happy. And then one day I was like, you know what? I have control over my life. I'm going to change this. So I broke up with that guy. I canceled my year lease and quit my job. And then I was just scrolling on Facebook. And I don't know if you remember Madison Duffy. You remember?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So she had just earned her wings with Delta as a flight attendant. And I was like, what the heck? Why not? Let me just text her. So I was messaging her and I was like, do you like it? And she's like, I love it, but it's not for everyone. Like, I'm going to tell you some of the bad things about being a flight attendant and some of the great things. And she told me, and even the bad things, I was like, this is amazing. I have to do this. So I applied to Delta and United, and I was just hungry for anything. I was like, get me out of this position. I will take whoever takes me first. And United was moving super quick. Delta was really slow at the time. So within 2 weeks, I was in Chicago at my interview with United. United hired me. I went straight to training, which is 5 weeks long in Houston. And then about a week away from me graduating training and earning my wings, Delta called me. About that time, I was like, I'm already so far ahead with United. I'm just going to keep going. Because as long as you get in with like some of the bigger name airlines like Delta, United, American, Alaska, JetBlue, those are all fantastic companies. Like I would have been happy at either one. So I
Mm.
finished out with United, became a flight attendant, and oh my gosh, it is the greatest job on earth. It's so fun.
So, what were some of the good and bad things about being the flight attendant?
So some of the good things, and Madison would agree with me on this, is like it's something different every day. And for people who love to take care of others like me, it really fills that void for me. Like if I'm bored on the airplane, I'll just walk out into the aisle and go talk to someone, or I'll give someone extra pretzels if they're wearing like an Auburn hat or something. Like there's so much room for just taking care of others. It's amazing. And then you can also go anywhere in the world. You can be paid to work flights internationally or on your days off. You can call one of your favorite flight attendants and you're like, hey, do you want to go to like Cambodia or do you want to go to Mexico? And y'all can both fly there for free.
Oh
Um,
man.
it's like a whole different lifestyle. But then on the bad side of things, I would say you have to be okay with being alone. And the first year, it's like really hard for a lot of flight attendants because you're not used to being alone. Like you go to your hotel room, you're by yourself. You wake up, you go, and you're in front of 200 people, but they're really short conversations. You never see them again, and then you're back in your hotel room alone.
Mm.
So yeah, it's one of those things that either makes you or breaks you. And for me and Madison both, I think we both kind of like grabbed a hold of that alone time, and now we need it. Like now, if I started dating someone and they wanted to hang out with me too much, I'd be like, whoa. I don't want to hang out that much. Like, I'm okay seeing you like 2 times a week, but like every day, that's aggressive. So it'll make you one way or the other, which isn't really a good thing or bad thing. It just, you have to be prepared to be alone a lot.
So was that something that was hard for you to adjust? I mean, you said you're a big people person, so what is it hard for you to adjust to that?
Yeah. Well, the first 6 months was hard because I'm sure you remember this about me, but I was always in a relationship. Like, I feel like if I broke up with one person, I might have been single for a month and I was with someone else. So I was constantly kind of in that partnership mentality. Like, how can I take care of this person and be a good girlfriend? But then when you get to the airline industry, you have to find a really competent person to date because one, being a flight attendant, some people are intimidated that you're out hooking up with the passengers or the pilots and stuff, which some flight attendants do that. But I don't. But you know what I mean? It takes a really competent person for you to just leave and be gone for a week, traveling to all these amazing places, and they don't worry about you. So I just kind of didn't date for a while and found so much peace and excitement in being single and not having to like tell someone where I'm going or why I'm doing what I'm doing. Um, but then you do meet those people that date and they're so amazing. They're like the best boyfriend ever, and they love your excitement and your independence to be alone, and then they can tag team and go on trips with you. And so there are people out there that are awesome for this industry as a partner.
So what are some things that like I guess are like rumors or whatever that people think about the airline industry that really aren't true, or I guess some like scandalous type stuff like that?
Hmm. Well, let's see. The Mile High Club, I know people talk about. Um, I have caught a couple trying to do that, but I stopped.
Really?
Going to Ireland, yeah. And I was like in the galley, like I don't know what I was doing. Maybe getting ready for a water service, and that's a big flight where people like to drink and get a little bit tipsy. Because you're going to Dublin, Ireland, like that's so cool. So, anyways, this couple was like walking to the back, and my back was turned towards the galley, but they were behind me, and I heard them kind of laughing, and they were like going in, and I turned around, I was like, one at a time, and they were like, but I do not ever recommend doing that because those galleys are small and that's disgusting. Like I just could never. Oh my gosh, it's so gross. That should not be a thing. Like no one should put that on their bucket list. First off, it's unsafe. Could you imagine if we hit turbulence and there's 2 people in the lavatory? It's so unsafe. And then second, it's so dirty. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's that's a big thing, I guess. Yeah, the Mile High Club, but that I don't know. I guess some people just think it's a cool thing to do, just to say that they did it. So I don't know.
Don't do it. I do not support that. Also, people talk about the water, not drinking like coffee or hot tea because it comes from the potable tank. And even some flight attendants don't drink the water because they're like, oh, it's in a tank and that tank never gets cleaned out. But I've been drinking that water and the coffee and the hot tea for 5 years, and I think I'm still doing good. So I would kind of bust that rumor out.
I haven't heard that one before. I
Yeah.
I guess I can see what people are getting at, but I would think like I mean most flights. I would say the average flight is what a few hours maybe. I mean, if you factor in like
That's it.
long flights and short flights, I
Yeah.
mean, most people are only going to be flying for 2 to 3 hours. So you would
Yeah.
think they would have enough water on the flight for
Oh, yeah.
everybody. So I don't
We
know.
have a ton of water. Like we have bottled water, that we serve, but the potable tank water, which is like the tank in the aircraft that is the water for the coffee and the hot tea, that's the one that everyone's saying not to drink because that tank is not cleaned out regularly. But
Mm.
I think if it gets hot enough, like my dad's a health inspector, so I just think about it. If that water gets to a certain temp, it's already killing all the bacteria. That's my
Mm.
mindset. So that's why I drink it, and I've never had any problems.
Yeah. I don't know if you experienced the freeze that just happened recently. What was that? February, March? I can't remember. Like when Texas had the big freeze. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So Memphis, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and they, I think it was just like the Shelby County or like the whoever gets water from a certain type of water source. they told us not to drink the water, but to boil it first.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you can drink it, but you better boil it first. And they said that for like showers and everything. So I would think the same concept with the
Yeah.
airline. Like if you get it hot enough, it's good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you. But everyone has their opinions, so.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're doing the flight attendant job, and now you've gone into real estate.
Yes.
So how'd that come about?
So that happened because when the pandemic happened, the airline industry was the first to tank. If you remember back in like October time,
I
flights were
looked
stopping. Go ahead.
I looked at the stocks.
Yeah, I need you to teach me about stocks. This is like an untapped market. Like, I need you to tell me what to do.
I will.
Okay, cool. We'll have that conversation soon. Um, so yeah, the airline industry tanked, and they had to do furloughs with almost all the airlines. Delta, they found a really great way to save everybody, but it was basically like every single person in the company had to take half their schedule they're used to. But at United, they kept our senior people, which in the airline industry, for every airline, seniority is everything. So even if you're like the top flight attendant for customer reviews, it doesn't matter. If you're hired down here, you're the first to go. So at United, they furloughed 5,000 of us. We've got 26,000 flight attendants. So I was one of those people. I was like 100 people shy of being saved.
Wow.
Yeah, so October 1st, I get my furlough notice with 5,000 of my other colleagues, and it's basically like them saying, hey, we're going to call you back as soon as demand's back, but for now, you're furloughed, you don't have your medical benefits, you don't have your flight benefits. Like, losing your medical in a pandemic is so scary. I was like furious, but in the airlines, you're a number. So I didn't take it personal. I was just kind of like, hey, this is God's telling me that I need to go do something else. So I'm like, what is something I've always wanted to do that I would regret not doing later? Let's do it now. And that would be teaching abroad. Like, I've always thought about teaching abroad. So then I applied for that, got the job, moved out to Thailand. I got the best insurance ever. Like, international insurance is so good. I paid $60 a month for $500,000 worth of coverage.
Dang.
And their hospitals down there are so nice. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. The medical industry in other countries is top notch. It's really nice.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I went down there and I lived down there for a couple months, taught kindergarten, which is the hardest job like I've ever had in my whole life. But the little kids have a special place in my heart. And then United called me back, which was really scary because they were like, you need to come back now or else we're going to fire you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just like hysteria. We were all just like, what do we do? Because all 5,000 of us that got furloughed, we had to go get another job because like, what else were we supposed to do? How are we going to feed ourselves or pay for our mortgages or rent or whatever? So we all get new jobs. And then all of a sudden United calls us back and they're like, all right, you need to come back. You need to be ready to go to work. And so then we're all freaking out. Do we quit our jobs? Like, what do we do? So at that time I was like, well, I love my kids and I love, this experience, but I will never be a kindergarten teacher again. And I'm not about to lose the best job in the world because I want to be down here for another month. So I told my principal, I told all the kids, like, hey, I can film videos for you. I can send you these videos to play on the big screen for the kids, but I got to go. United's called me back and they're like, that's fine, don't worry. So I left, came back. And then that's when United started offering leaves. They were like, okay, actually, sorry, you can work if you want, but you can also take time off and keep doing other things if you want because we need to save money. So I could have gone back to work and made money, but then I was like, well, now I want to become a realtor. It's something I've always wanted to do. My mom's been doing it for 23 years, so I think now is the time for me to learn real estate. So now I've just been taking leaves from United, and I have my medical back, I've got my flight benefits, and I can go back anytime.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm in a life of transition right now.
Holy smokes, that's a roller coaster.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm not going to say I've been happy, sunshine, smiles every single day. There's been some days where I have to close the blinds, curl up in a blanket, and just cry, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If you have emotions, like, I feel like you need to let them out instead of bottle them up so that way you can just move on and be stronger. But
Absolutely.
it's been a freaking year.
So, do you feel like you handled everything the way you should have, or do you feel like you have any regrets, or how do you feel?
That's a great question. There's definitely been times where I'm doubtful. Like, I'd say right now, about once a week, I'm having these like moments of huge doubt where I'm like, why did I leave Las Vegas? It's my favorite place on earth. Like, if you've ever traveled to a city and it just tugged at your heart and you feel like you left a piece of your heart there, that's how I feel about Vegas. I freaking love Las Vegas. Um, but yeah, I have these moments of doubt where I'm like, why am I not out in Vegas? I could be flying right now part time and I could be selling real estate out there. But then I remember, God's in control and this was not my idea. This was God's idea. He put it on my heart and I'm doing it. And I think it's okay to question sometimes. It's like all about being a Christian. Like, we're not going to be perfect Christians. Like, sometimes we are going to doubt, sometimes we're going to question why God did something. So I feel like it's still kind of like unfolding here. And I'm just trusting Him and I'm hoping, like, maybe I'll be super successful at real estate and then I can marry the two. I can be a flight attendant and a real estate agent in Vegas one day. It's just on God's time.
That would be incredible, because you could just be all over the place, just like doing real estate. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. I would love to sell real estate out there.
So, with real estate, are you working for a company, or are you just like it's all yourself? How's that working?
Yes. So my brokerage is HomeLink Realty, and my mom, has been selling for 23 years out here as like a top agent. So I've partnered up with her to help cover her on her deals. But now I've had enough training, and I'm independent enough, and I know plenty to go out on my own. So I do have my own clients that I'm working for now, but we tag team it. Like, if she lives at Lake Martin, so if she can't get down here to help her clients, then I'll run over and take care of them, and then vice versa. Like, if I'm out doing something, she can cover for me. And then also within HomeLink, there's a ton of top agents who just need a second person. So a lot of them have hired me out to go help them on their deals. So we kind of we're like a team. We want to
Okay.
help each other out.
So, when you are, I guess, doing any kind of deal with people, do you feel comfortable? Like, you haven't been doing it long, so I mean, do you feel like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got this, or is
Yeah.
everything's fine?
Yeah, I feel totally confident now. So I bought my first place back in 2019. So I was reading a bunch of like real estate investment type books and different strategies. And so it's something I've always loved. And, I was my mom's like assistant starting at 16. So this is kind of like easy peasy to me. But the part that was really intimidating when I first got my license back in May, I was really intimidated by like the contract. I actually like have a contract here. I'm just going to hide some of the things, but like, I just read this contract every day because fine print really overwhelms me. And I'm the type of person I just sign my life away. I'm like, ah. But when it's other people's money and like my clients, I protect them more than I protect myself. So I like to know every single detail. I want them to be able to ask me, Olivia, what does Section 16 mean? And I want to be able to rattle it off while I'm in my car. So that was the part that was really intimidating to me at first. But it's been 4 months and I totally have it now. And if I don't, like, if I have a question, I can always go to my mom and ask. She's my mentor. She brings 23 years of experience to the table. So there's never a question that I can't get answered.
Mm. So, I've noticed on your Instagram you've been posting like some rumors or tips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you care to share some of that with with people where they might? I saw you were doing like it was kind of like a game on your story. You were like
Yeah.
the what am I trying to think of? Like the
That
percentage,
person.
yeah, like the down payment and all that kind of stuff, their credit score. So, what's the type of stuff that you think people should know?
Absolutely. Okay. So um, I've partnered up with a couple of lenders in this area. And I'm not typically supposed to give solid 100% factual advice on the lending side of things. You should really go to a lender for that. But there are things I can share. Like, there's a myth out there that you have to have a 600 plus credit score in order to even be considered to buy a property. But that's false. There's things out there like an FHA or what else? Conventional. Conventional, I think you have to have a 600, but it really depends on the lender. Like some lenders are okay if you have a 500 to 579. They have a program set up to where if you have that, you just have to put a larger down payment. But then if you've got like a 580, it could be a smaller down payment. So I don't want people to think, oh man, I don't have like a 700 credit score. I can't get a loan. Well, you can absolutely go to a lender in your area and show them everything you have. You do not have to pay for it. This is totally free. If you're just going to like motivate yourself for the next year to realize how real it is to own a property, go meet with a lender, lay out all your information, be like, this is the credit card I have a lot of debt on. This is my credit score. This is kind of what I want. I want like a 3-bedroom, blah, blah, blah. So, what can I do? That lender can tell you, okay, I would start paying this off, or I would do this first with your money. They can like give you a path to where you can still buy a property. And I read a really sad statistic the other day that like breaks my heart. I think back in 2019 or 2020, 83%, and I don't know if I have these numbers perfect, but it was enough to like hurt my feelings. 83% of first-time home buyers, or the home buyers that year, were Caucasian. And that breaks my heart because it makes me feel like there's other ethnicities out there that are not being exposed to the same material that we are. And I think it really shows like white privilege is real. And it motivated me to be like, well, everyone deserves to hear this information. I fully support Black Lives Matter and I support other cultures, and I want them to have the same opportunities that I had growing up. So what I'm trying to use my Instagram for is to like give that knowledge out to everybody, not just white people. I want everyone to be able to have a home or own their own home and start building their wealth no matter the color of their skin. Yeah. So that's my new mission in real estate right now, is to just cater to every single person and give them all the opportunities I had for free.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a business in itself, is just not only the education of people, but like, different ethnicities. Because, I mean, you have to think about all the immigrants that come to America who probably don't have a clue how our system of real estate works.
Absolutely, and they don't know who to trust.
Yeah, that too. I mean, they're probably like, oh, I just have to do this, or I just have to do that, or they might be more than what they have to do. It might be less or more. I don't know, but it's probably really stressful. We as Americans think it's stressful, but imagine being somebody who is from a different country, or as you were saying, like, even if you're like Hispanic or Black or Asian, you've been living in America, but you want to move into like a predominantly white neighborhood, and then like the realtor's like, I don't know.
And that breaks my heart too, because like, I am the cheerleader for fair housing. Like, I believe no matter the color of your skin, I want you to live in whatever neighborhood you want to live in, and I will make that avenue, that path more easier for you, and I want people to be able to have the same connections that I have. So if you go with a realtor you trust and someone who is going to support your goals, they're probably going to have lenders that they work really closely with that are going to really help you too and give you the attention you deserve. Every single person deserves a chance.
Absolutely. I mean, you sound like a politician with that.
Thank you. I just want everyone to like have the opportunity to live out their goals, because it feels so good to live your dream, and it's easier for some than it is for others, which is sad. So that is my goal.
Absolutely. So do you plan on being a real estate mogul? Do you plan on buying property and all that kind of stuff, or you just want to help others?
Yes, well, absolutely. Helping others is my number one goal. That's why God put me on this earth. So whether that's in the air, taking care of people, helping first-time homeowners, helping multi-millionaire investors, put their money in condos or game day houses, whatever they want to do. I want to help people. But then once I start building my wealth, I definitely want to have at least 10 properties by the time I'm 45, 50. So that way I can start paying them off, and that can be my passive income for retirement. Because I've got my 401k, all of that, but I like to be in control of my money. So that's something I don't necessarily feel like I have control of, because it's not right here in my hands. But then my condo that I own in Las Vegas and I rent that out, that's something I own. I can go touch it, feel it. I have full control over that. You know what I mean? So I want 10 of those. So I'm saving right now. I live very frugal. I don't get my nails done. I meal prep everything. And when I bought that condo, I was only making $37,000 a year. So you don't have to be rich to start investing in real estate. That is my goal. At least 10 properties, and then by then, I can either sell all 10 of those and buy a 10-plex or an 8-plex and have everything under one roof. Or if I like that, I'll just keep doing that and then maybe keep progressing.
Do you want to do it all in Vegas, or do you want to spread it out?
I would say spread it out. I always make plans for myself, and then God has other plans. But I think it's good to at least have a direction. I definitely like to spread my money out. Just like I want to talk to you about stocks. Like I want to invest my money in real estate, but I also don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So I'd love to talk to people who know a lot about stocks. And then I can tell you all I know about real estate, and we can spread our money out and just like be powerhouses together.
Absolutely. I actually had a guy on. What's his name? Get Rich with Richmond. I'm talking, he's really young. Like he might be like 19, 18. I forgot how old he is, but
wow.
His whole page his whole Instagram is all about stocks, and he's got like a website. I think he has like an audio book or a book he wrote. Like,
good for him.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, when people are 18, they're not thinking about this kind of stuff.
So impressive. I'm going to go follow him after this.
Yeah, he's got some really good info. And one thing I would definitely suggest is, what was that name? It was some movie. It was like a documentary I watched with Warren Buffett. And it's not really about stocks, but like just watching that man's life. So do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Yeah, I know who he is, but I don't know his story.
So he's an older guy that is from Nebraska. I think it might be like Omaha or something like that. But he still lives in Nebraska. And he's like one of the top 10 richest people in the world.
Wow.
And, yeah, he still lives in like his house value has probably like 10x from but so at like the beginning of the documentary, he's going to McDonald's, and he's like, my wife puts in a certain amount of money like in like a cup or something like that, and every time I go to McDonald's in the morning, whatever's in that cup, that's what I get at McDonald's. And he knows exactly how much it's going to be, and he gives the woman the money, and like he gets because he knows like what's on the menu, and he knows how much he has. So based off of how much money he has, that's what he gets.
Wow.
And so he calculates everything. And that made me think of like, that man is rich because he knows how much money he has, and he knows how much money he can spend. So he knows he's calculating his wealth. He's not just using his wealth. He every move he makes is like a chess match, like his whole financial situation. I was like, that's why that man has money.
He could easily just whip out that card and be like, give me everything. Or, I mean, he wouldn't even have to be going to McDonald's, but I love that.
Yeah, I think that's a fallacy that people our age or younger have, is like, we have credit cards and debit cards. We're like, oh, this is how much money is in my bank, or this is how much money I know I can spend on my credit card, so I'm going to spend it. But the way Warren looks at it is, I have this much, so I'm only going to spend this much. And I think that's what really helps him out. And he was also talking about just like compound interest, the value of that, which has really changed. It's changed the way I look at my stocks, because I've invested a lot into stocks that have dividends. And God, what is it? It was like it's like a real estate. It's like new residence investing or something like that. Their stock price is only like $9 or $10. So, but I have like over 100 shares of it, and their dividend is pretty decent. So, like the last quarter or last month, I got like $35 in dividends. But what I do is I just reinvest the dividends, so I never even touch it.
Yeah.
It just buys more stocks.
You're just allowing it to grow itself.
It's just growing itself. I don't even have to touch it. So
So cool.
that's something that I learned that from Warren is just just let the money work for you. Don't work for the money.
Yes. And that's where I want my life to be when I'm nearing 50. I want to be able to go sip a margarita in Mexico and just watch my bank account grow, you know? And so I know, like with real estate, I can do that. I know with stocks, I can do it, but I have zero knowledge on stocks. So that's where I need like a partner like you to be like, hey, Olivia, go in on this, or I feel good about this. And then if you ever wanted to do real estate, I'd text you like, hey, there's a diamond in this neighborhood, grab it, rent it out. Like I can share my knowledge with you and you can share yours with me.
Absolutely. And I think that's the advantage of today's like lifestyle is that we can collaborate so easily.
Yeah.
And people just need to like share information. Like I'm all about sharing information for free, which is why I do the podcast. Like
Yeah. Jackson, I'm with you on that because like there's a lot of people in Alabama and I've seen this difference because I've lived in DC, LA, Vegas, so all these cities where in the cities we believe in sharing our success with others so that way other people can grow because there's plenty of success out there for all of us. Just because you become more successful doesn't mean it's going to hold me back. You can, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. That's my favorite
mm,
quote. But when I came to Alabama, I noticed that like no one was sharing their expertise or their knowledge, and everyone's kind of like this, and they're like, I don't want to tell anybody because then they'll take my idea. But I'm like, no, let's tell everybody what's working, what's not, and like let's just the city can just like grow and get bigger, and we can all be successful. It's gonna come back, you know. So I don't know, and I share all these things that I've done in my life, and I'm afraid some people down here might think that I'm bragging, but I'm really not. I'm trying to do it to support other people and show them that it's possible and that I'm willing to help you get there. Because it would feel so good to know that I helped at least one person get to where I'm at. And then they might know something better than me and they'll help me get to where they're at.
yeah, I could definitely see, somebody being like, "Oh, Olivia went to Cambodia and Thailand." But it's like, yeah, you could too, but you haven't.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I'm not rich over here, okay? I haven't collected a steady paycheck in over a year. Like I'm struggling, but that's okay. When I get out of my struggle, it's going to make me appreciate my solid income even more. And I think it'll keep me grounded. Like I don't know. I think being broke makes you appreciate the value of a dollar. I've realized there's a lot of things I don't need in my life to be happy. So I'm really thankful that I was broke for a little bit.
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't know what's your timeline. You wanna end this? You wanna?
I'm doing good. I finished all my appointments earlier. I actually just had let me see, a client texted me. We're good. We're good.
Okay. Yeah, well, I usually do about an hour, and we got about 15 minutes for an hour. So.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Are you
Uh,
doing good on time?
yeah, yeah. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about was just basically for your real estate and everything. Did you do any kind of classes before, or do you just like your mom just straight up tell you everything? How'd you I guess get your feet wet into it?
Yeah. Well, so I've been learning real estate since I was 16 with her, just on the showing listings and taking buyers out. All of that came natural, but then when it came to like getting my license, I'm very self motivated, and I like to do things at my own pace. I don't like to be in a classroom setting because sitting still makes me like I'm very ADHD. I need to be up, moving around, doing things. So I went on realestateexpress.com, and anyone in the country can take that. You just select your state, and then it's a pre-license course, and it's self-paced. You do it as fast as you want or as slow as you want. You have to do it within 6 months. So I did it in like a month, and I was studying like 10 to 15 hours a day, like a lot.
Dang.
I know, and it's a lot of legal stuff. It's so boring. Like, and I want people to know if you're gonna get your real estate license, just know like just pass the exam. And when you're out of it, like I rarely use that stuff. And like I had questions during that time where I was studying. I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, what is this? Explain this to me. She's like, Oh, honey, you don't need that. Just pass that test. Just remember it and pass it, and then you'll never use it again. So now that I'm out in the field, yeah, the biggest thing that was like scary to me was the contract, and now I've got that nailed down. And that's it.
Nice. So for the contracts, is it like a template and you're like, all right, I've got this template, I'm good to go. Like I use it cookie cutter, or do you have to like come up with something new every time?
No, so we have like a set contract in my MLS area. Now, if my clients wanted to do new construction, that new construction company would have, or that builder would have their own separate contract. So I'd have to go through and read that, which I would absolutely do because my clients, safety and protection is number one to me. Some of those contracts are like 54 pages long. So you just read through and make sure, like, what if there's any clauses in there that allow them to get out and keep their earnest money and stuff, just kind of like where they're legally bound. It's good to know those. But with my contract that we do for most of our residential purchases and stuff, it's only 4 pages long. So it would include like how much you want to pay, the inspection period. And just so you know, if you'll ever go under contract on a house, there is an inspection period where an inspector that you trust, or if you don't know one, just ask your realtor. They probably have some. They'll come out, they'll inspect the entire property. They'll tell you if there's anything big, hairy, and scary where you're like, you should just run and go pick another house, or if there's things that you can fix, which most of the time these reports could be like 20 pages long, and that's normal. Don't freak out. Like it'll be doorknob is loose, or there's a leak here, the vent needs to be cleaned out. I mean, a whole checklist of things. And once you get that back, you've got 2 business days, at least in my area. You've got 2 business days to decide if you want to take it as it is and do all that yourself, or if you want to negotiate what to fix and that seller will negotiate back with you, or you can leave. You got the 3 options within 2 business days, and you'll get your earnest money back. The only thing that you've lost is time, but that's fine. So yeah.
So what market are you, or like where are you living at? Like where are you doing most of your business?
So I cover Auburn, Opelika area, so like all the surrounding areas of that, and Lake Martin.
Okay. And do you feel like that's, a booming area, or is it just kind of steady state? Like, how's it going?
Yeah. Well, so I have a ton of real estate agent friends all across this country. So we've all kind of collaborated and told each other like what our market's doing, because we want to know like who's being affected and who's not. But basically, all over the United States right now is hot. It's a seller's market, but it's not a bad time to buy because the interest rates are still at an all-time low. Like I'm going to give you an example here. I wish I had a sheet of paper. Okay, I do. Um, so it's a good time to buy, but the sellers do have an advantage right now because there's so many offers. There's like low inventory. But I'm going to show buyers why it's still a good time to buy, even with these prices being so high. This is where I can use my math degree. 2019, and I'm going to show you, we're just going to say 3% interest rate, even though I think we're getting up near 3.25. Let's see. I bought my place for 178 at a 4.875% interest rate. Ugh. And 30-year note. And that monthly payment was like around $1,000. We can put that. So far, this is what we have. Can you see that? 2019, 178, 4.875. Now, the only numbers I'm going to change are the sales price and the interest rate. So we're going to go down to, now it's around 215. That's what I could sell it for, but I don't plan on it. I like to invest. We're just to say 3.25% interest rate, 30-year term. And that payment went down to like 8. We're going to say 3% because I did refinance, which it's a good time to refinance for any of those that won't want to refinance. I secured that 3.0% interest rate, and my thing went down to like 876. So I went down to 876 payment, all because this number, the interest rate changed. So that's why it's still a good time to buy. Yeah. You just have to find an aggressive realtor, and you have to be a strong buyer because, like, I can tell you all day long, hey, keep your offer clean, do this contingency, that contingency, and it'll make you look like a strong buyer. But if my buyer doesn't want to do that and they're like, no, I don't want to go that high, I'm going to do this. Like, I can advise all day long, but I'm going to do what my buyer wants to do. I respect their opinion. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I actually, so I bought my house in 2019, and
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And I think I had like a 3.5% interest, and then I refinanced in like December of 2020 and got like a 2.8% interest. Yeah.
Oh gosh, that is so good.
Yeah. And so far, so my house is about 200 grand. It was actually 200 grand even.
Yeah.
And okay, that was actually a funny story. So the house was listed at like 197, I think, or
Yeah.
195. I can't remember. And my realtor, she was like, I told her, I was like, I don't want to pay closing costs. I don't want to pay any of that stuff. And she was like, all right, we'll offer a good bit more than the house, and then we'll tell them to cover all the costs. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So she's like, we were looking at another house, and then she got a phone call saying that the house was available and that we were the highest bidder. She's like, well, how much, how much do you want to go? And well, we had bid like 210 or something like that. And
Yeah.
then um, she said that we were the highest bidder, and but the people said that they didn't think the house would appraise for 210, so they wanted us to go lower. And I was like, all right. She's like, what do you want to go? And I was like, you're my realtor, tell me.
Yeah.
But I was like, let's go 200 even. I was like, screw it. And
Yeah.
she was like, all right, we'll go 200 even. And that's how much we bought it for, was 200 even. And I didn't have to pay closing costs, anything. And
That's incredible.
but right now, as I said, I've had it since August of 2019, and right now I'm at about 158,000. So I paid off a little over 40 grand on it. So
Wow, and look, that's
yeah,
all your own money. Gosh, it's so amazing.
yeah, because I looked, I paid it off with, well, I'm paying it through USAA. That's who I got the loan through, because I was in the Air Force, and when
Thank you for
and
your service. It's awesome.
thank you. But when I went through like a loan calculator, it was saying that if I made like, I forgot how much. I think it was like,
An extra payment every year.
yeah, it was like if I paid like 4 grand more, like per month over the monthly payment, I would save myself like $100,000. And I was
Yeah.
like, yes.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but it's so true. That's one of the biggest tips that I've heard is like pay one extra payment a year and it'll save you like 10 to 12 years or something.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's just crazy. So yeah, every Christmas, that's my Christmas present to myself. I pay an extra mortgage payment on my property.
Okay.
I think it's like 10 years or something. They'll pay it off quicker. And that's why I would always go with a 30-year note because if, shit hits the fan like it did for me and I lost my job,
Yeah.
I wasn't stuck on that 15-year note where my monthly payment is more expensive. And it's hard to cash flow on that as an investor. So I'm glad I stuck with a 30-year note. And you can always pay it off in 15 years if you want, but you've got full control over that,
Yeah,
which I
like
like.
a part of me was like, man, I should have did the 15, but now like, so I'm starting my business with a friend. We're doing a partnership for like a record label, and so like a lot of my money is being allocated to that. So I'm just like, okay, yeah, it was a good idea because
Yeah, great.
my monthly payment's so low, but I
Yeah,
can push my money toward other ventures at the same time. So
absolutely.
I don't have as much money for myself, but I can spread it out to do the things that I want to do. So
I love it. That's great. And I know that if you go from like a 30-year note to 15, that the interest rate is lower at the 15, and that's what, makes people want to do it. So I'm not a professional in that. I don't know what the interest rates are at right now for a 15-year note, but I know for a 30, they're around 3.25. That's so great. The fact that you got 2.875 or whatever, oh my gosh, it's so good.
yeah, I was very glad that I refined. Because at first I was like, I actually asked the woman on the phone. I was like, hold on, me refining, is this actually better? Because I was thinking about the amount of time I had to do the math of the change in interest rate compared to the amount of money that it was going to take me to pay it off, and then that time frame, because I wanted to pay off
Yeah.
the house within like 5 years. So I was
Uh-huh.
like, would I even recoup the money in that 5 years, but she's like, yeah, like no matter what time. Well,
Yes.
I think she said it'd take about a year for me to actually see the benefit of
Mm-hmm.
that refinance. And I was like, all right, cool, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. And I want to show you because I did the same math too. I mean, I trust numbers. I'm a numbers girl. I'm like, if I see the number, then I trust it. Okay, so I saved by just refinancing, going from a 4.875 down to 3%. I saved $165 a month. So I'm going to times it by 12. That's 1,900 a year, and then times 30 because that's how long my loan is. I'm saving $59,400 by refinancing.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this is where adulting, we're like showing our age because we're getting excited.
Man, I remember just being excited about like getting a nice vacuum and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I
Oh
know.
man. Well, hey, it's been an hour. It's been great talking to you. To wrap this up, give everybody like all the info they can on you for your real estate and everything. I guess emails, Instagram, everything.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's Olivia Smith, and I'm covering Auburn, Opelika area and Lake Martin. But honestly, I have friends all over this country. If you just want a good realtor, but you have nowhere to start and you need my help, I can actually refer you out. I can do the research for you. I've done this for a couple of my friends, but I'll look for 3 realtors in your area that you're looking to buy that are top notch, someone you love, and then you choose and I call them and make sure that they can see you. So I can do referrals. My number is 334-740-1052. And you can also follow me on my Instagram. It's Happy Homes with Olivia. And I'll give you a follow back. And I want to see everyone succeed and buy a house. And if you're a passenger on my flight one day, I'll give you extra pretzels. Just tell me you watch this podcast.
Awesome. So, what's your future plans? What are you planning on doing? Just doing this, and then maybe going back to the flight attendant job?
So I plan to be down in Alabama for probably another year, just like taking real estate down here 100%. And then after that, I plan on probably going back to Vegas and then doing like part-time flying and then mostly real estate. Like real estate's definitely where I want to be the majority of the time. This is my main hustle now, and that one will be my side hustle just for fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Olivia, for all the information you gave. It's always great catching up with you, and yeah, we'll have to probably do this again sometime.
Absolutely. And I'll
We'll
hear
talk.
more about stocks next time.
Absolutely,
Jackson.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for everybody tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.